Well, hello, YouTube. How are you? How are you? How are you? Thank you for joining me on this fine spring, April 15th. Today is tax day. Today is Jackie Robinson Day for those of you that love baseball as much as I do. Um, Sadly enough, I'm really lamenting the fact that I didn't get to see more of Paris than I did in my EYF trip. Just watching the news and seeing the Notre Dame Cathedral burning down is horrific. I mean, it's the history that was in that building, the artifacts that are lost, the paintings that are lost. It just breaks your heart to see such a beautiful monument being desecrated by fire. So my heart goes out to those in Paris. My heart goes out to those that that have to witness this. And I really hate that I didn't get to see more than the Eiffel Tower when I was in Paris. So that being said, I want to thank you all for joining me. I want to thank you all for coming back to my channel. If you are returning, I want to thank those that are new to my channel. My name is Natalie Jett. I am the Knottee Hooker. I live in Moncks Corner, South Carolina, which is about a hop, skip, and jump away from Charleston. This is episode number 11. I'm a crocheter. I am a knitter and an indie dyer. So I've crocheted first. I crocheted for 30 plus years. I taught myself how to knit Portuguese style, so I'm a Portuguese knitter. And I dabble in indie dyeing. I don't do enough to, I had an Etsy store, but my problem with dyeing is you pretty much need to write down your formulas, especially if you want to repeat them. But I'm the type of dyer, I get a color in my head, I want to see it out on my yarn. So I start creating, and then when it comes time to recreate, I have no idea what I did. I don't keep records. I don't stop to write anything down. I don't measure anything. I just throw and hope for the best, basically. And so far, when I've had a project in mind, or like my boss sent me a picture, my ex-boss sent me a picture a few months back, and it was a camouflage hat. And he was like, "Can you do this?" Oh, yeah, of course, I can. So I dyed the yarn. I knitted his hat. I had to make him another one because he loved it and he wanted one for his son. But I didn't have enough. I dyed it in worsted weight, so it'd be nice and warm because he's just moving back up to Michigan. So here I would make a fingering hat weight. It would still be warm, but it wouldn't be as warm as worsted. So I didn't have enough left over for his son, so I have to dye some more yarn for that. So I just tend to dye in spurts versus dyeing enough to keep my Etsy store going. And then again, unless I dye in bulk, then 9 times out of 10 I'm not going to repeat that colorway perfectly, which is one of the things I like about hand dyed yarn. But it can also be a drawback when you're trying to make a business of it and you're too lazy, or I won't say lazy, I get the creative juices just start flowing, and I don't want to stop to write down 1 ounce of this or 2 ounces of this or so many teaspoons. I don't have time for all that. So as you can see, okay, the last time I talked to you all, I was just recovering from EYF. So I've recovered from EYF. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been home, getting back in the groove. I don't know if I told you all or not, but I got relieved of my job duties a week before Scotland. So I had to come back and do the unemployment thing, and I need to update my resume, but I've really just been taking it easy, enjoying some time off, which I'm enjoying it. My bank account's not enjoying it too good, so I've got to get off my behind and start looking in earnest, especially because my girlfriend and I want to go to Rhinebeck this year, and that Rhinebeck is October 17th to the 20th, and I want to go back to Edinburgh next year, so I've got to start padding the coffers so I can get some money saved up for both of those trips. So while I am enjoying just sitting around knitting, a life of leisure, watching baseball, my bank account is saying, okay, Natalie, get off your behind and start looking for a job. So, but I had, let's see, remember the hat I had started that came off the needles on the plane, or whenever it came off the needles. So I frogged that. I got that knit, got that given, passed on to this recipient or what have you. And I'll post some pictures of what it looked like. It was a Wurm hat, which is usually my go-to hat. So I did that, and I'll post some pictures of what it looked like on my model Delilah. And then I cast on, remember this Zorzal shawl with my yarn I got from Edinburgh, and I finished it. And you know, you would think because this was just straight garter stitch that I would have gotten bored and cast on something else. But I was quite monogamous because I learned, you know, the first thing I learned was a new cast on. I did a garter tab cast on. I had never done that. I had never done the yarn over knit that I had to do on the edges. I had never done wraps and turns. So I did that because it's a semicircular shawl, but it's in sections, wedges. So I had to learn wraps and turns and then finish it off. I started with 17 stitches. I ended up with 454 stitches. But I loved it, and the yarn, y'all, I have worked with I've used Cascade Heritage Silk, and it's a beautiful yarn, and it drapes beautiful, and it dyes up beautiful. But this, why do I always get a bug? This, just the weight of it is almost weightless. You know, I wish you could feel how light it is. So I got that finished, and it's funny because I belong to the Flowertown Knitting Guild, which is a knitting guild here in Somerville, and they gave out bingo cards at the beginning of the year, and it's basically to teach us different skills, is to, you know, just keep us involved with our craft or what have you, versus, you know, whatever. So when I first got it, I'm like, am I really going to keep up with this thing and do it? But I've been using it to challenge myself. So when I finished this shawl, I was able to knock off 3 blocks on my bingo card because I learned a new cast on, I learned a new bind off, and I finished the shawl. So, and I'm keep showing y'all my tassels because I'm so excited that the pattern called for tassels, and I went back and forth as far as whether I wanted to put them on or not, and I'm glad I did because it just takes it up a notch as far as I'm concerned anyway. So, but the bingo card, so the next one that I plan on doing, you have to knit hats for charity. So we knit for, we have several charities that we knit for, but this time I'm going to do some hats for the local elementary school. I think she said she needed 60 hats by September. So, and I picked out some blue yarn because I figured if I'm going to do hats for kids, I might as well do the blue for the Hat Not Hate campaign that Brooklyn Boy Knits and Lion Brand and those are doing. So they're not going to that campaign, but I figured I could still do in blue. But on my bingo card, there's a box for Fair Isle knitting, and there's a box, of course, for the charity hats. So I'm going to combine those two, and I found a Fair Isle hat pattern that I can use. So I'm going to do that. And so that's my next project. Well, no, that's not my next project. My next project is I had to dye. After I finished this, I immediately pulled out my dye pots because I had a Chicago Bear scarf I needed to make for my boss's mother-in-law. I had made his wife one, and she loved it and wore it home, and her mom saw it and wanted one. And I don't like making 2 of the same things, especially when I know the people are going to be together. I want to, you know, have 2 different representations of my work. So I got this brilliant idea. Well, it wasn't really that brilliant, but because I had already cast on one before, Scoreboard cowl. And we won't talk about the one I already have cast on, so we're just going to keep it moving. So I poured out my dye pots. I dyed some navy blue. It is navy blue. It looks purple in the picture, but it's actually a navy blue. And then I did some Chicago Bear orange. And this is the beginning of my scarf. She wanted a scarf. She didn't want an infinity scarf. So this is the first week. This is the second week. Unfortunately, the Bears didn't score the second week. And then, so I divided with the purl row so you could see the end of the game. So first week, second week, and I'm getting ready to start on the third week. I did a provisional cast on for the first time. And I think the yarn I used was too thick for the finger and weight yarn, so my stitches were bigger than they should have been. So I was getting on my nerves because all the yarn was flapping around. So I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and close this up. So I got up this morning, determined I was going to pick up my stitches and do the Kitchener stitch and create this invisible join. As you can see, my join is not invisible, and it's not the prettiest thing in the world. Picking up the stitches was no problem, and I used my Cocoa Knits stitch stoppers on both ends of my DMP, so I didn't lose anything because I had to pick up 45 on one side, 45 on the other. So I got them on my needles. That went fine. I pulled up Stacy Berry Pink Knits so I could learn the Kitchener stitch, and somehow it didn't go as well as I planned. And once I figured out that it didn't look anything like it was supposed to look, I was too far in to try to take it off, because I'm like, I'll never get these stitches back on this needle. So I had to go ahead and wing it. But I posted it on Facebook, and somebody said just put fringe on it. So I'm going to camouflage this pitiful looking Kitchener sticks with some fringe, and no one will be the wiser but me. And y'all. Well, darn. But I'm sure y'all won't tell nobody when she sees it. I don't think she's going to watch my YouTube video, so it'll just be all secret. So that's what I have on my needles right now. And let's see what else. Oh, I was able to, speaking of which, I was able to pull up the whole 1945 schedule. It's just amazing what you can find on the internet now. So I wrote it all down. I got everything done. So it will have, she was born in 1945. So this is going to be the entire schedule. So that way I thought it was different from what her daughter had. Plus it was personalized to her. So I thought that was kind of neat. So I'll be doing that. And then after I finish with that, then I'll cast on the 2 hats. I'm kind of leery with that because I have to do, with Portuguese knitting, I have the Portuguese knitting pins. Well, since I'm doing Fair Isle, I've got to figure out the tension on and putting them on 2 different pins, each color. So that's going to be fun. I have the Andrea Wong videos, and I think Fairy Pink Knits did a couple of videos. But the thing is they show you this 10-minute clip of what it should be. I need you to go around the hat with me. I need you to finish the hat with me. I don't need you to just show me a 5-minute clip. I need somebody to actually do a project start to finish. And I keep saying I'm going to, but I don't know enough. I don't want. So that's my next project, is to do the Fair Isle knitting. And if I can get it on the hat, then I've got to cast on a sweater, because I'm still incredibly jealous of all the colorwork sweaters that were at Edinburgh. I'm not starting out with 10, 15 colors up here yet, but I found actually it's a poncho that has 3. So I'm like, okay, let me practice on this hat, get the Fair Isle down pat, get the tensions with both the yarns, and then I will move on. And I started a group. I went to Knit Night. Okay, being OCD is not the best thing in the world when you're trying to do a video, because these things run, and I try to stay on script and not ramble, but then these little squirrels run all over the place, and then I just get distracted. But anyway, so Knit Night. We have a new yarn store that opened up in Mount Pleasant, which is, it's a good little drive for me. But I went out last week to Knit Night, and I was, showing off my yarn, and I hadn't finished this yet and stuff. So I'm showing this off and telling them, about my trip or what have you. So there's several ladies there that want to go to, to get a group this time and go to Edinburgh. So I started a group on Facebook, and I'm like, okay, once we commit, then we've got to pick a pattern that we all can all do, so we can all as a group have this one item that we're wearing, so just from Charleston or what have you. And now that I think about it, it needs to be, I don't know, we'll figure it out. So I've got that to look forward to, and find a pattern or what have you that I can try to get. And that was another thing on my bingo card, is you have to participate in a knit along or get your friends or whatever. Chantel ain't really feeling me right now, and she's kind of, she hadn't really got on board with the whole knit along, because 9 times out of 10, I start a knit along and then I don't finish and she does. But I'm going to get her on board, because I've got to start a knit along to put that off on my bingo card. So I got that to look forward to. And April is April 27th is local yarn store day. So we had already decided before the store opened up in Mount Pleasant that we were going to Myrtle Beach to their yarn store. It's called Knit and Pearl. We've been there before, and it's a lovely store. And so we're going to do that again on April 20th. Well, the Knitting Guild is. Another group that I belong to, we had already decided we were going to Savannah to this store called Unwind. So we're going to support a local yarn store. It's just the newer one that just here. I don't know that we'll be able to squeeze that in because we had already made plans to go to the other one. But if you have a local yarn store in your area, I would, I'm sure most of them are having, events. They're having giveaways. They're having, things to draw people in. And not just on your local yarn store day, but we've got to support our local yarn stores because they're becoming obsolete. It's hard to keep them, and it's hard to keep them going because it's easier to buy stuff off online and just have it delivered and stuff. So if you have a local yarn store in your area, please get out on April 27th and support them and show them some love and buy some yarn and buy some notions. And you know how we love our notions. We love our project bags. I have more project bags than I have projects, but I think that's a good thing in that they're not filled with projects that are languishing. So in a way, that's a good thing for me. So I'm trying to think. I don't have much this week because I finished the hat. I showed you my shawl. I showed you the Chicago Bear scarf. I did go to the local yarn store and got me another little project bag because I have some Chigoos. I'm sure I'm mutilating that name, but I bought the 5-inch set, and I use a lot of the 4-inch needles because I make a lot of hats. So I had the needles, but I didn't have anything to put them in. So I went this weekend and bought me a little pouch from the Wild and Woolly is what the store is called in Mount Pleasant. And I have my 4-inch needles in here. I have my cables and a couple of DMPs that I had. So I just couldn't pass it up. I mean, it's not like I don't have 50 million project bags already, but this called my name, so I got it. And also another little gadget that I got that just came in the mail. It's in my beautiful buddy case. Oh, lost one of my stitch stoppers. But I got the, what is this? Knitter's Pride row counter ring. It took me a week to figure out that the row I was on, it has to be in those little gray sections. But I put it on my middle finger, and then on the side, I can tell that I just finished row 74. And I still tend to, I don't care what row counter I use, I still tend to forget, but for the most part, since I'm looking at it while I'm knitting, this has worked pretty good for me as far as remembering to turn the ring. So that's a notion that I have that I just, can't do without. Like every other notion that I have, that when I see it, I just know that I can't live without it, and what have you. So I think that's it. It's just a short video this month or this week because I've been monogamous, which is a good thing, but I don't have a lot of whips to show and only have the one finished object to show. But ladies, gentlemen, I encourage you to pick up your needles. I encourage you to pick up your hooks and knit, crochet, dye to your heart's content. Until next time, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell so you can get notified. And I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.